अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर। अशहदु अल्ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अशहदु अल्ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अशहदु अन्ना मुहम्मदर रसूलुल्लाह अशहदु अन्ना मुहम्मदर रसूलुल्लाह। हय्य अलल फलाह हय्य अलल फलाह हय्य अलल फलाह हय्य अलल फलाह। अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर। ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह। Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. A'udzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today, I want to discuss with you what happened 10 years ago. And that was the collapse of the Lehman Brothers. Those of you who might remember, Lehman Brothers was a very large investment bank. I think it was the it was the fourth largest investment bank in the United States. And in fact, it wasn't the only bank that was teetering on the verge of collapse. There were others, such as Merrill Lynch and so on. And it had become very difficult because the governments had to decide which bank to save. And there is a long history of what happened over the weekend until the collapse was announced. And I want to start with chapter 53, verses 38 to 41. Chapter 53, verses 38 to 41. Allah تزر وازرة وزر أخرى وأن ليس للإنسان إلا ما سعى وأن سعيه سوف يرى ثم يجزاه الجزاء الأوفى. And the English translation is that no bearer of a burden bears another one's burden, and that man can have nothing but he struggles for, or works for, or strives for, and that his striving will soon be seen. Then he will be rewarded for it with the fullest reward. And the other verse I want to recite, it's a long section and the whole of it is relevant. So I'll just read the English of one or two of these verses. This is chapter 2, and the relevant verses are from 274 to 283. And it says, "Those who spend their wealth by night and day, privately and publicly, their reward is with the Lord. They have no fear, nor shall they grieve. Those who swallow usury cannot arise except as he arises whom the devil prostrates by his touch. That is because they say trading is only like usury, and Allah has allowed trading and forbidden usury. To whomsoever then the admonition has come from his Lord, and he desists, he shall have what has already passed, and his affair is in the hands of Allah. And whoever returns to it, these are the companions of the fire, therein will they abide." Allah will blot out usury, and he causes charity to prosper, and Allah loves not any ungrateful sinner. And this goes on. And in fact, there are, I guess, 5 other places in the Holy Quran where usury is spoken of. Now, you see, this relates to a monetary transaction between people. And this is generally what we think. The word used here is riba, with the root ra, ba, wa, or wow. And that means to exceed, excess. But you see, jurists have gone into this and they've said, and this is to get round this idea of interest. And they've said, well, what it actually means is if you lend someone £1 and he's going to return it to you in a week's time, and you can't say to him that I want £1 and 10 pence, because those 10 pence will be interest. Now, what they say is this: however, if rather than return £1 as a currency, what you do is, or £1.10 as currency, what you do is you take £1 and then you in return give something else that is worth £1 and 10 pence, then you haven't taken an interest, because the two things are not the same. So, for example, if you take a loan in gold and that gold is worth £1,000 and you repay with silver, and silver is worth £1,200, they say that is not interest, because you borrowed gold and you returned silver. And another is a very simple way. They say, well, I mean, here is a pen. I'll sell you this pen for £5. And in a month's time, I'll buy it back from you for £6. Now this is not taking interest, this is a trade. These are all, they're called hilas, they're called justifications to get round something. But let us see what the Holy Quran actually tells us. You see, you have different types of transactions between people, monetary transactions. I was going to say transactions involving money or capital, but this is more than that. This is anything of value. One, or the first one, of course, is when you give someone a present. We've just had an Eid, so you give someone Eidi, you give them £10. Now there is no expectation that you will get it back. So if you give someone something with no expectation of any risk, because you don't expect it back anyway, it could be charity or it could be a gift. Another way in which you could expect something where there is great risk. There is great risk, and you may or may not get a return, is of course gambling. So you put, I don't know, you go to a slot machine and put some money in, and the risk is that you will lose that money. But you hope that you may win the jackpot and win whatever, I don't know, what these machines give out, whatever it is. So you expect a large return without any effort. And then there is, of course, another type of transaction where you expect that you will get something. You are giving something of value and you'll expect a return on that. And what is it that you're giving which is valuable? And that is your labor. You may be a teacher. So in return for teaching, you expect to be paid. You may be a doctor, you may be a lawyer, whatever you are. It may be that the return is for your skill. It may be that the return is for your physical effort, or mental exertion, or your knowledge, or your skill, as I said. So this is, of course, labor or working, and you expect a payment. It may be that you're on a fixed salary every month, or you're a whatever. Now, then there are transactions where both risk and effort are involved, and you expect a return. This is business. You buy something in the hope that you'd be able to sell it for a greater amount. The risk is you may not be able to sell it, but you put effort into going and buying this thing, marketing this thing, and so on. And the last one that involves some risk, but in a way no effort on the part of the person investing the capital, is of course interest. Then you say, I'll put £1,000 or £10,000 with Nationwide or some building society, and when I go back to the building society in a year's time, I want that to be, I don't know, whatever, £1,100 or whatever the rate of interest is. And this time you solely use the capital to accrue more capital. Now, the thing is that usury is forbidden in all systems. British law forbids usury. So sometimes I'm at a loss to understand why or how they allow payday loans and things like Wonga and other companies that charge very large rates of interest. On the other day on television, they had this woman who borrowed £600 from one of these companies, and even after paying, I think she said £3,000, she was told that £600 was still due. And as I said, strictly speaking, British law forbids usury, but not a return on your investment, not taking interest. And this is what Allah is saying. God says Allah wants charity to prosper. So what is being forgiven is that if someone comes to you, rather than say to them, okay, you have difficulty paying your gas bill or your electricity bill or whatever it is, and we'll give you this amount as a charity, or we give you this amount without any interest and pay it back to us at the end of the month. You loan that amount to this person and you charge them 3,000, 4,000% interest, because that is what these loans charge. Now you see, this is speculative, because you know this person is having a very difficult time. So you're speculating that this person will be able to meet the installments. So it's this speculation and hoarding in the expectation of increasing the price that Islam forbids. In Citizens Advice Bureau, a woman came to me and she was in distress. So I said to her, what happened? And she said, all the benefits I get from the government goes off to pay the interest on these loans I have. So I asked her, why did you take these loans? Oh, Christmas was coming, my kids wanted everything that their friends were going to get, so I didn't have money, so I went and borrowed some. And I tried to pay off the loan. But the point is this, that she is already on benefits. And the company lending her that money knew that she was on benefits. So if you lend her money and expect her to pay it back to you with interest, that means she has even less money left to feed her kids and pay her gas and electricity and whatever else. But somehow she managed. The second year, she did the same thing. Now, of course, now she had 2 loans that she was paying back. And so she had even less money. And eventually she got into severe financial difficulties and went to Citizens Advice Bureau to ask for advice, etc., etc. So, you see, this was speculation on the part of this company, that someone with so few financial resources, desperate for money, will somehow try and keep up with the payments because they might want a loan again from them. And so I rang up the company and I talked to them, etc., and managed to convince them to write off her loan, because I said, this will lead to very bad publicity for you if you pursue this woman, because she is desperate. Now that was lucky. But you're taking advantage of a poor person. And of course, that poor person has made a foolish decision. If you can't afford something, don't buy it. That is the simple thing. And it's this idea on the part of the company to speculate, and on her part as well. This thing that something will turn up, something will happen, somehow I will manage. That Islam forbids. And this is exactly what Lehman Brothers were doing. They were lending money. In fact, it had just become a very large and respectable payday lender. That's all it was. What they were doing was giving people who could not afford to pay mortgages loans to buy homes, and saying to them, well, here you are. For 2 years, you only have to pay a very small amount. But after 2 years, the rate will go up to the normal rate of interest. So they were speculating on this man's financial condition becoming better, such that after 2 years he would be able to pay off or return to a proper rate of interest. And it was that speculation and that lending money. You see, Lehman Brothers may not have been charging 6,000% like these payday loan companies, but given the people's circumstances to whom they were lending money, it wasn't just Lehman Brothers, there were other banks. Well, all banks were involved in this because it was seen as easy money. But the point I was making was that to the people to whom they were lending this money, it was like giving them a payday loan at 6,000%. They somehow married at the low rate of interest, but when the rate of interest they had to pay to the bank after 2 years went up to the normal, they couldn't. In fact, it went above the normal. The reason being that they'd had a discount in the first 2 years, and there's no such thing as a discount or a free lunch. So after 2 years, to make up for the amount that the bank had lost, they were going to charge them extra. And that is speculation. And God says, you should live within your means. And that was the first verse that I recited to you, which said that, what did it say? A man can have nothing but what he strives for. Live within your means. Don't go and borrow money at extortionate rates of interest. Try and avoid it. This is to the borrowers. I remember when we first purchased our house, the only furniture we had was one sofa and a bed, and a cupboard as well, I think, and a cooker. It was 2 years before we purchased a fridge. I got a bonus and we got a fridge. We could have gone and got HP or a loan from a bank. But then I calculated, if I did that, if I spent £100 on buying a fridge, I would end up paying more than £300. I would end up paying nearly 3 or 3.5%. For what? To show off to people when they come to buy home, and I've got this fridge. And what return was I going to get for that? So we didn't have a fridge for 2 years, as I said. So on the part of people, if they learn to live within their means and manage rather than show off, and we see this at weddings in Pakistan, when people go around and they borrow money from everyone. Why? Because they want to invite 700 people to the wedding feast. Why? Because they want to light up the whole street. Why? Because they want to give this and that and whatever as wedding presents. And then they spend the next few years trying to pay off those loans. If they lived within their means. And in fact, if you read the history of the Mughals, this was exactly what destroyed the Mughal Empire. Because that was how they behaved. And God says, you can't have more than what you work for. It's impossible. The only other way to do it is to borrow. Now, if there can be two reasons or two ways. You can borrow from the bank, then you pay interest. If you don't borrow from the bank, you don't have to pay any interest. It's as simple as that. But there are times when, for productive reasons, it is sensible. When it is productive, it's not speculative. Then I think people are justified in taking out a loan, like to buy a house. If you didn't, people in this country or in the West in general did not take out a mortgage, they would never be able to, well, it will take them 20, 30 years to save up enough money to actually buy a house. Now they are saying people who start work at 20 will not have enough money by way of a deposit until they are about 35 or 40 to buy a house. Now that is something useful and productive. And let me give you another example. There is a large area where there is a great deal of unemployment. You, a person, borrows money on interest and builds a factory there. The factory produces whatever it is. Now that money is being used for, is being used productively. It gives 500 people jobs. 500 families who are poor can now maintain their household. 500 kids who were going hungry, not being able to concentrate on their education, or in some countries maybe not even go to school because all schools are paid. They can now send those kids to school and get them educated. Is that loan on interest unlawful? I don't believe it is. Because, as I read on in the other verse that I recited, it said Allah wants to blot out usury and He wants charity to prosper. So what is being forbidden is that you exploit people. It is exploitation and speculation that is being forbidden, and not taking out a loan for some productive or sensible use. We talk about interest being banned and barred. Unfortunately, Muslim governments, those with oil reserves and resources, have huge amounts of money invested in the banks in the West, earning interest. That could be put to more productive use. Build factories in poor countries and give people jobs, so there isn't this huge emigration from those countries to the West. That would be a proper use of that money, rather than just sitting there and living off the interest. Invest it somewhere. And that would be justified. It is that kind of investment and living off interest that God is forbidding. That rather than help humanity, you don't have to give the money away, as I said. Build something. Give people jobs. Let them put food on the table for their family. But if you prefer, rather than do that, to stick money in a bank and just live off the interest, as many of these governments do, then that, I think, would be forbidden. Alhamdulillahi nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Allahumma ansur man nasara deena Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam waj'alna minhum. Allahumma akhzul man khazala deena Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa la taj'alna minhum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima innaka Hamidum Majid. Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i zil qurba wa yanha anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi ya'izukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Ibadallahi uzkurullaha yazkurkum wad'uhu yastajib lakum wa la zikrullahi akbar. Allahu Akbar, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah, qad qamatis salat, qad qamatis salah. Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim, siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim, ghairil maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. آمين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أستغفر الله. ربنا Thank you very much for joining us for our Friday service. I'm sorry we couldn't broadcast over the radio today because the software crashed and we couldn't bring it back up. This is why we were a few minutes late starting our service. Until we meet again next Friday, I pray that Allah keeps everyone safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, goodbye.